Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever wondered why some people move through life calm, clear, and unshaken, while others crumble under the slightest pressure? What if the difference began in the very first seconds after you open your eyes each morning? And imagine if you could take control of that moment. How different would your entire day become? Most people wake into the same mental loop as yesterday. Doubt, fear, and scattered thoughts filling their mind before their feet even touch the floor. Instead of claiming the day, they react to it. Once you start in reaction, the day owns you. You become a passenger to your circumstances rather than the architect of your results. But change that first moment, and you change everything that follows. Real power begins the instant you wake. In just a few moments, I will show you what to do each morning to reset your mind and rewire your brain for success. It all begins with one definite thought. Your mind must be instructed or it will wander. If you don't choose the first thought, the world will choose it for you. That's why the opening moment of your day must belong to a single clear purpose, one so specific and powerful that it aligns your entire being. Not a vague hope, not a fleeting wish, but a positively affirmed direction charged with emotion. This practice begins the night before. Write down the one outcome you want most for the next day. Say it aloud when you rise. Fix it in your mind before the world speaks. Your mind, like a plow, digs in the direction of your dominant thoughts. What you plant in the morning, you harvest at night. Now picture this. You wake with clarity. Before speaking to anyone, you speak to your dream. You rise with determination, your chest lifted, your eyes focused. The world sees someone on a mission. And because you believe the day is yours, others begin to believe it too. So let me ask, what is your first thought in the morning? Is it shaped by design or dictated by default? Does it guide your path or scatter your focus? Choose carefully, because a single thought can rewrite your destiny. Review your purpose before you step outside, before you shake a hand, before you open the door to the world. Even before breakfast, you must return to your reason. The world pulls in 1,000 directions. If you don't anchor yourself to your center, you'll be torn apart by distractions, obligations, and other people's urgency. Purpose isn't discovered once, it's renewed daily. You have to sit with it, speak to it, carry it like a compass. Morning is the sacred hour for this, while the world is quiet and your mind untouched by noise. Sit down, close your eyes, and ask yourself one question. What am I building, and why does it matter? The answer may not roar, but it will be clear, and that clarity will guide you. Now imagine a man who never returns to his purpose. He is easily shaken, small problems feel enormous, and he reacts instead of creates. But another man, one who begins his morning in reflection, walks calmly even through tests, because he knows what anchors him. So ask yourself, do you remember your mission, or only your schedule? Do you rise with purpose, or drift into obligation? Begin each day grounded in your why. Review it, speak it, live it. A man with purpose is harder to stop than an army without it. Visualize the person you are becoming. Every morning, before the world demands your attention, claim those sacred moments to see who you are meant to be. Not as you are today, but as you must become to carry the life you dream of. The world does not shape you. Your imagination does. An untrained mind only recalls what it remembers. If those memories are filled with lack, failure, or delay, your future starts to mirror your past. But when you imprint your mind with a bold image of your future self, standing strong, leading others, calm in the storm, you give your brain a new map to follow. This isn't fantasy, it's rehearsal. Just as a warrior sharpens his blade before battle, you sharpen your identity before facing the day. Each morning, sit in stillness. Close your eyes and picture yourself doing what you were born to do, with courage, clarity, and command. Watch yourself walk with authority. Hear your voice speak with power. Feel the satisfaction of results not yet earned, but already prepared to receive. Picture this. You are not a hesitant worker crawling through time. You are the sculptor, and each act you take today is the chisel in your hand. What form are you creating? What image will your life reflect? Let me ask you, have you trained your eyes to look forward, or are they stuck in yesterday's fog? Have you seen the person you are meant to become, or are you still negotiating with who you once were? Start every day with vision. Because the person who sees clearly cannot be led astray. Write down one dominant goal each morning. Your mind was never designed to chase 100 things at once. It was not meant to sprint in every direction like a frightened animal. It was built to focus, to lock in, to take one clear target and pour everything into it until it bends or breaks. Yet in today's world, we fool ourselves. We believe multitasking is power, that keeping 10 tabs open in the mind is efficiency. But it isn't. It's sabotage disguised as ambition. The man who tries to pursue everything ends up catching nothing. Look at the people who truly build, conquer, and achieve. They all do one thing the average man skips. They write their goal. Not just think about it, not just know it, write it. Writing is a declaration of war. It marks the moment you stop fantasizing and start commanding. A written goal becomes a promise, a signal to your brain. This is not optional. This is what we're doing today. You might think knowing your goal in your head is enough. It isn't. The mind is a slippery place. Goals drift, shift, and drown beneath distractions. But when your hand moves the pen, when your eyes see the ink, the goal becomes real, concrete, visible. It leaves the cloudy territory of thought and takes shape in the material world. It becomes something you cannot ignore. Each morning, before the world's noise creeps in, sit down for 5 minutes. No more, no less. And write one goal. Just one. Not a list, not a journal entry. One sentence, one task, one target. A decision you've avoided, a conversation you must have, a piece of work that matters. That's it. Simplicity is not weakness. It is strength made sharp. Now imagine doing this daily. You wake, you sit down, you write your goal. As the day unfolds and your energy scatters, you glance at that small piece of paper. It speaks back to you, reminding you why you started. It pulls you back to yourself. You waste less time, hesitate less, and make fewer detours because you know where you're going. Yet most people never do this. They assume they'll remember their goal. They rely only on willpower, hoping the day won't derail them. But the wind is always blowing. Distractions are always calling. And without a written goal, you drift. So let me ask, did you write your goal today? Or are you just hoping the storm won't knock you off course? Write it, read it, chase it, and soon you'll no longer be ruled by feelings or confusion. You'll be ruled by intention. That is the mind of a builder, a doer, a conqueror. And that, my friend, is how transformation begins. Ask yourself one question that stretches your thinking. The day does not begin with the sun. It begins with the first question you ask yourself. For most people, that question is pitifully small. What's for breakfast? What meetings do I have? What's the weather like? Harmless questions. Maybe, but they set the tone for a harmless life. A small question wakes up a small mind, and a small mind cannot build a powerful life. But you must become uncommon. You must reject the shallow and reach for the deep. Each morning must begin not with routine, but with a stretch, a mental reach beyond your comfort, your patterns, your laziness. Train yourself to ask a better question, one that forces your mind to rise, one that rattles your comfort and invites your higher self to the table. Why? Because your life is shaped not by your answers, but by your questions. A lazy question brings a lazy answer. A fearful question traps you in circles, but a powerful question cracks open new directions. It plants a seed of strength, pushing you to think beyond today's noise. And in that thinking, your mind begins to evolve. Try this. Before the world pulls at your attention, before the news, the texts, or the to-do list, ask something uncommon. What would I do today if I wasn't afraid? Let that question sit. Let it echo in your chest. Or ask, what is the one bold move I'm avoiding? Then breathe with it. Don't demand an instant answer. Let the question stretch you, not solve you. Most men ask only to survive the day. But the rare man, the man of vision, asks to shape the day. He doesn't ask what's happening to him. He asks what he must become, what must be built, what fear must be slain. His questions carry weight, and in return, his answers carry power. Picture this man. He wakes not with dread or distraction, but with a challenge. Sitting at the edge of his bed, he asks, what must I become to lead with honor? That one question changes his posture. He stands taller, listens more closely. He disciplines his habits, not because a schedule told him to, but because a question demanded it. This is the secret few ever grasp. Your questions set your level. They either build the ceiling or shatter it. They train your focus or scatter it. They can lull you back to sleep or wake you into purpose. So let me ask you, what question began your day? Was it one of survival or one of strength? Did it lift you up or weigh you down? Write a new question, one that dares, one that stings, one that stretches you. Ask it tomorrow. Ask it the next day. Let it guide and haunt you. Because the mind that asks great questions is the mind that climbs. And the one who climbs sees a world the average man never will. Do one hard thing before the day begins. Comfort never announces itself with fanfare. It doesn't storm the gates or ring alarms. Instead, it seeps in quietly, like a warm blanket draped over your ambition. It whispers softly, "Take it easy, you've earned it, just a little more rest." Day after day, comfort seduces you into delay, into softness, into the slow decay of your own potential. Not through violence, but through ease. That's what makes it dangerous, because it feels good, yet it steals everything. This is why the morning is sacred. It is the battleground where you decide who is in control, your mind or your mood. The man who seeks a life of strength, purpose, and power must choose discomfort before discomfort chooses him. He must say, "I will hurt by choice, or I will suffer by chance." That is the law. Pain cannot be escaped in life, but you can choose its form. Will it be the sharp sting of discipline or the slow weight of regret? Each morning, before the world enters your space, before food, before comfort, do one hard thing. Not because someone told you, not to prove it to others, but to prove it to yourself. This silent act, done without applause, is your private rebellion against weakness. Cold water, a steep run, a difficult truth spoken, a long-delayed conversation, 100 push-ups before coffee. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it hurts, just enough. Enough to declare, "I am alive. I am not ruled by comfort. I am in command." And what does this do to the brain? It rewires it. It tells the nervous system, "I don't need to feel perfect to act with power." It tells the subconscious, "I lead, I act, I dominate." You train yourself to move first, before motivation, before permission, before circumstances feel ideal. And when you repeat this day after day, something inside you begins to shift. A steel spine starts to form, and a voice begins to rise. Not the loud voice of ego, but the steady, quiet voice of discipline. It is the voice that says, "No matter what comes today, I've already won." Picture two men rising at the same hour. The first stretches, letting the warmth of the sheets linger a little longer. He eases into his day, hoping it won't be too hard. The second rises like a soldier. He plunges into cold water. He trains. He faces what he fears. He chooses pain before life can throw it at him. His body may ache, but his eyes are alive. His energy is not reactive, it is directive. The world begins to sense him. People step aside, circumstances bend, not because of luck, but because of posture. That is the difference. That is the price of power. So let me ask you, what have you done this morning to make yourself stronger? What have you faced that forced your mind to bow to your will? Or did you allow comfort to decide again? Discipline is not a mood, not an event. It is a ritual. It begins with the choice to hurt a little every morning, to do the hard thing before the day demands it. Because the man who starts his day in command of himself never needs the world's permission to win. Do one hard thing daily, and soon the world will stop testing you. It will begin to respect you. Eliminate one excuse before it speaks. Excuses don't arrive loudly. They don't kick down your door or shout their presence. They slip in quietly, disguised in reason, dressed in the language of logic. That's what makes excuses so dangerous. They feel right. They feel justified. But if you let them go unchecked, they quietly dictate the rhythm of your day. This is why the first battle every morning isn't against fatigue or circumstances. It's against your excuse. Before you eat, before you speak, before the world even knows you're awake, you must eliminate one excuse. Cut its tongue out before it whispers. You already know the excuse waiting for you. It's no mystery. It's the same one that showed up yesterday and the day before. It's the thought that curls in the corner of your mind like a lazy shadow. I'm too tired. I don't have time. I'm not feeling it today. This voice doesn't shout, it suggests. It offers you a back door, a reason to slow down, a reason to give up your edge. And if you're not careful, you'll take that door, mistaking surrender for wisdom. But a man on a mission doesn't argue with excuses. He dismantles them. He names them. He doesn't pretend they don't exist. He calls them into the light and tears them apart. That's where power begins, with brutal honesty. Because the man who tolerates even one excuse has made an agreement with weakness, and you cannot sign peace treaties with what wants to destroy your purpose. So here's the practice. Each morning, sit with your journal in silence. Write down the exact excuse that will try to stop you today, not in vague terms, but clearly. If your excuse is, I didn't sleep well, write it. If your excuse is, I'm too overwhelmed to start, write it down. Then write its opposite. Write the truth you choose to believe. If the excuse says, I don't have the energy, you write, I gain energy by moving, by pushing, by starting before the world wakes. This isn't just journaling, it's rewiring. Then comes the vital step. Act in line with that new truth immediately. Don't sit and analyze. Don't wait for inspiration. Move. Action is what solidifies belief. Each time you do this, you send a message to your brain. We are not ruled by fear, fatigue, or fiction. We are ruled by decision. Picture this. Two men wake to the same alarm. Both feel the same heaviness in their chest, the same weight of responsibility. One listens to the voice of delay. He lies still, reasons with himself, promising to start in an hour, maybe after breakfast. But that hour becomes a morning, and that morning becomes a wasted day. The other man hears the same voice, but he is ready. He wrote that excuse down, named it, and declared war on it. When it tried to speak, he had already silenced it. He moves with power, builds momentum, and wins, not because the day was easy, but because he refused to be seduced by the easy way out. This is not about being harsh on yourself. It's about being honest. Your excuses are not facts. They are narratives, small habitual lies that shield you from discomfort. But that very discomfort is where your transformation lives. And if you allow those lies to survive, they will rob you of every bold thing you were meant to become. So let me ask you, what excuse will try to own you today? And more importantly, will you let it take control? Eliminate one excuse, not all of them, just one, every single morning. If you do this consistently, 6 months from now you'll look back and see that you've erased 100 regrets without even realizing it. Because you didn't wait for motivation, you didn't wait for clarity. You chose the harder path before the easy one had a chance to seduce you. That's how winners begin their day. That's how you reclaim your mind. That's how excuses die, quietly, one morning at a time. Read even a single paragraph that reminds you of strength. Your morning is not just the start of the day, it's the setting of your mind. It is the fragile hour when silence still lingers, when the noise of the world has not yet poured in. In that quiet moment, what you feed your mind matters more than most realize. Before opinions strike, before demands arrive, you are fully yours, untouched. And what you place into that sacred space shapes everything that follows. Most people never see this. They stumble into their mornings unguarded, reading emails filled with other people's priorities. They let complaints, news, and nonsense be the first things to touch their mind. And in doing so, they hand over their mental authority to the outside world. Their first thoughts are not their own, but reactions to everything around them. But you must not begin your day this way. Treat your mind like firewood in the cold. It must be sparked early, not with volume, not with 10 chapters or endless affirmations, but with just one paragraph. One truth, one powerful arrangement of words that reminds you who you are and what you're capable of. Because words are not decorations. They are not entertainment. Words are tools. Words are weapons. When used properly, they cut through confusion, lift you out of despair, and forge clarity where there was only fog. That's why you don't need much. Just one paragraph of depth, of strength, of fire. That alone is enough to burn away the softness of sleep and summon the steel of discipline. It's never about how much you read, but about what you feel from what you read. One line, if true, personal, and potent, can stay with you for hours. It can follow you into conflict, into doubt, into decision. It becomes your ally, your armor, and unlike noise, it does not fade. It lives like a quiet pulse behind your thoughts. So what should you read? Anything that reminds you of your own greatness. Anything that shakes you out of laziness and lifts you toward mastery. A passage from a warrior's biography. A sentence from a sacred text. A handwritten promise to your future self. A quote that rattles your fear. The source matters less than the feeling it sparks. The words must not flatter you. They must call you up. They must not comfort you. They must ignite you. Keep this paragraph somewhere sacred. Your journal, your wall. Return to it every morning as if it holds a secret written just for you. Read it slowly, not as a task, but as a ritual. Let it enter your chest, not just your mind. Let it breathe fire into your limbs. Let it pull your spine upright before you even move. Imagine this. Two men face the same day. One watches what others do and begins by reacting. The other opens a small, worn journal. Inside is one sentence he wrote a month ago. Today, I move like a man with purpose. He reads it, lets it settle, breathes with it, and suddenly he moves differently. His posture straightens. His presence sharpens. That single sentence has made him dangerous in the best way. This is not fantasy. This is training, mental training, spiritual conditioning. When you begin each day feeding your mind with strength, the world can no longer feed you weakness. You'll hear complaints, but you won't absorb them. You'll face obstacles, but you won't be ruled by them. You'll meet temptation, but you'll stay aligned. Why? Because you armed yourself with one powerful truth before the war of the day began. So let me ask you, what words shaped your thoughts this morning? Were they yours? Were they intentional? Or did you allow the world to shout over your spirit before it had the chance to speak? Start your day with a powerful sentence. Not as a motivational trick, but as a discipline, a personal contract with your higher self. Read it, feel it, live it. One sentence, if truly believed, can bend the shape of a week. One paragraph, if absorbed, can kill self-doubt before it breathes. And one truth, returned to daily, can build the foundation of an unshakable life. Don't wait for the world to feed your mind. Feed it yourself, with strength, with fire, with clarity. Let the first words you hear remind you of who you really are. And then touch the work you've been avoiding. Every morning, without exception, you must face it. Not the easy work, not the routine, but that work. The one that hides behind every excuse. The one you keep pushing onto tomorrow's list. The one that stirs your gut the moment you think of it. That task you've avoided. That project that once lit a fire in you, now collecting dust. That conversation left unspoken. That document unopened. That idea never written down. Not because you need to finish it all today. That's not the point. The point is to prove, to yourself, to the day, and to the fear itself, that it no longer controls you. You touch the work not for completion, but for confrontation. You take the first swing, the first breath, the first step. You break the spell of inaction by reaching into the dark and touching the very thing you fear most. Avoidance is not passive, it is corrosive. Each time you delay what matters, a piece of your confidence erodes. You're not just avoiding the task, you're training your mind to believe it's too hard, too big, too overwhelming. You build a wall between who you are and who you could become. Brick by brick, delay turns into identity. I'll get to it later slowly becomes, maybe I was never meant to. But that is a lie. The only way to tear it down is to begin. The longer you wait, the stronger the fear grows. The more you tiptoe around the task, the more power it gathers. It becomes a shadow that follows you throughout the day, whispering in quiet moments, tightening your chest in silence. But the instant you touch the work, you take back power. You puncture the illusion and send a clear message to your brain. You are in command. You don't need to finish it all. You just need to begin. Open the file, write the first sentence, make the first call. Sit in front of the work, not as a slave to it, but as a master over it. 5 minutes of contact dismantles 5 days of delay. Because once you're in motion, everything shifts. The fog clears, the weight lightens, the monster shrinks. And why does this matter? Because what you fear to start today becomes what you fail to finish tomorrow. And what you fail to finish becomes the regret you carry next year. Time doesn't simply vanish. It accumulates proof. Proof that you didn't act. Proof that you played small. And with each wasted day, the distance between your present self and your future potential grows wider. Courage is not something you wait for. It doesn't fall into your lap or arrive when the timing feels perfect. Courage grows by doing. You don't feel brave and then act. You act, and bravery follows like a shadow. That's how confidence is built. That's how mastery begins. Not by waiting, but by touching the work while your hands still tremble. So each morning, before the world distracts you, ask yourself one simple question. What have I been putting off that matters most? What piece of work, if done, would change something, move something, heal something? Then go to it. Even if it's just looking at it. Even if it's only organizing it. Even if it's writing one line, begin. Now imagine two men. Both are gifted, both full of potential. But one spends his morning preparing, rearranging, and pushing real work into the afternoon, then the evening, then tomorrow. He dances around his destiny like it's a stranger, waiting for inspiration that never comes. The other man doesn't wait to feel ready. He touches the work while it still stings. He opens the file, rides through resistance, finishes, and moves on. He becomes free. That is the difference. One man avoids the fire, the other walks through it, scarred maybe, but sharpened. And each time he does, the fire fears him a little more. So ask yourself now, are you dancing around your destiny? Are you decorating your schedule with busy work? Or are you grabbing the task that matters most, pulling it into the light? Touch the work, even briefly, every morning, before your mind has time to negotiate. Before fear has time to build its case. Touch the work like a warrior touches his weapon, with respect, with resolve, with readiness. Courage doesn't grow in theory, it grows in action. One word, one click, one breath, and the war within begins to turn in your favor. Reflect on the life you no longer want. Every man is running from something, whether he admits it or not. There is always a shadow behind him. A former life, a weaker version, a time marked by fear, delay, and compromise. We are told to always look forward, to keep our eyes on the prize. But sometimes the greatest fuel doesn't come from what lies ahead. It comes from remembering what we left behind. This is not about guilt or regret. It's about clarity. There is power in facing your past, not to dwell in it, but to draw strength from it. Each morning, before the flood of obligation, take a few quiet minutes. Sit still. Remember the life you swore you'd never return to. Recall the fatigue of wasted time, the ache of knowing you had more to give but chose ease instead. Remember the lies you told yourself to justify mediocrity. Just this once. Tomorrow will be better. I'm doing my best. You know better now. And the pain you once lived in, whether physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual, is not something to forget. It is your contrast. It is proof that you are no longer the same, that you paid for your growth, and that going backward is no longer an option. Most men live in a fog because they never stop to remember. They try to stay positive, but in doing so, they lose their edge. They disconnect from the reality of what it costs to stay weak, lazy, addicted, or afraid. They pretend life was fine back then, but it wasn't. And when comfort creeps in and whispers, "You've earned a break," most believe it, because they've forgotten what that life really felt like. But you must remember, not constantly, but consistently. You must touch the scar. You must glance at the ashes of the bridges you burned, not to mourn, but to harden. Remember that the road back is not only wrong, it's deadly. A man who forgets where he came from will quietly begin to slip back into it. So before the work begins, before the world pulls at you, give yourself the gift of memory. Sit in the silence of the morning and recall the lateness, the self-doubt, the jealousy, the toxic patterns, the wasted potential. Picture yourself standing in that former place, the version of you who was more talk than action, more fear than force. And as the image sharpens, make this silent vow: never again. Reflection is not weakness, it is distinction. It draws a bold line between who you were and who you are becoming. And the more often you reflect, the clearer that line becomes. You don't just move forward, you move with conviction. You don't just dream, you execute, because you remember what it felt like to drift. You remember the weight of shame. You remember how hollow it felt to break your own promises. Now picture this. Two men rise with the sun. One rushes forward, eyes locked on the day's demands. He forgets what it took to reach this point. Entitlement slips in. He expects results simply because he is working hard. But he forgets the hunger that built him. The second man sits first, breathes deeply, and remembers the nights of failure, the days he almost quit, the tears no one ever saw. And instead of relaxing, he sharpens. He carries his past not as a burden, but as a blade. Every step he takes is informed. Every move is intentional, because he's not only running toward a vision, he's running from a grave. And that changes everything. You must ask yourself, what am I running from? Is it something shallow, a minor discomfort, or something deeper, a former life that nearly broke you? More importantly, have you burned the bridges behind you, or have you left them standing, just in case you feel like turning back? Because a man who leaves the door open to his old self will eventually walk through it. Not all at once, but slowly, thought by thought, excuse by excuse, until one day he looks in the mirror and sees the very man he once promised to outgrow. You don't need to live in your past, but you do need to visit it. Touch it. Taste its bitterness. Not because you miss it, but precisely because you don't. That is how you strengthen your spine. That is how you silence the voice that says, maybe I'm doing okay. You're not here to do okay. You're here to dominate, to become something your former self could never have imagined possible. So each morning reflect, not to suffer, but to fortify, not to feel shame, but to feel fire. Because the man who remembers what he refuses to return to moves forward without hesitation. He moves with power, he moves with purpose, and above all, he moves with gratitude. Grateful he's no longer stuck. Grateful he clawed his way out. Grateful he never gave up when everything inside him said, turn back, look back, not to stay, but to run faster. Because when you remember what it cost to stay weak, you'll never again mistake rest for regression. You will move like a man with something to prove, not to others, but to yourself. And that, more than anything, is what separates the average from the unstoppable. Thank the struggle before it begins. Most men curse difficulty. They groan when things don't go their way. They see struggle as proof that life is unfair, that something is broken, that maybe they should turn back. They pray for ease, for smooth roads, for sunny skies and gentle winds. But the truth is, ease doesn't shape you. Comfort doesn't sculpt courage. Calm days don't carve out giants. If you want to become more than the man you are today, you must shift your perspective. Stop resenting the struggle and start thanking it. Each morning, before the tests come, before the setbacks arrive, say this word with conviction, thank you. Not for what is simple, not for what goes your way, but for what stretches you, pushes you, bruises you, and slows you down. Thank life in advance for the delay, the confusion, the unexpected obstacle. Because these things are not enemies. They are instructors. They are not curses. They are classrooms. This is not weakness speaking. This is not passive acceptance. This is power. Gratitude, when practiced with intention, is not soft. It is steel. It says, I will not wait for life to be easy. I will be ready for it to be hard. That kind of mindset shifts you from a passenger into a warrior. It makes you a participant in your growth, not a victim of your circumstances. You don't sit around hoping the day bends in your favor. You train yourself to win no matter how it unfolds. So tomorrow morning, when you rise, before the noise of the world reaches you, look in the mirror and say, whatever test comes today, I welcome it. Say it aloud. Say it with conviction. Say it not because you enjoy pain, but because you know what pain produces. You've begun to grasp a truth weak men never understand. Struggle is not punishment. Struggle is a furnace, and only in the furnace are men forged into greatness. There are two kinds of men in the world. The first walks into the day hoping for peace. He is fragile, held together by comfort and predictability. When struggle appears, he's surprised, offended, and he folds. The second man expects struggle. He makes peace with it before it arrives. So when the trial comes, when something breaks, when a door closes, when delay strikes, he doesn't flinch. He smiles, because he knows, this is the moment that makes me better. That smile, that's the real victory. That's what carries him through. And strength like this doesn't come from wishing. It comes from framing. From beginning each day with gratitude, not only for what feels good, but for what will grow you. Gratitude turns pain into power. It rewrites the story, declaring, this didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And now I will respond as a man who is ready. Think of the strongest people history remembers. They were not shaped in peace. They were carved by storms. They faced setbacks, failures, betrayals, and wounds that would have broken the average man. But they didn't curse the storm, they thanked it. Because it stripped away weakness, revealed their resolve, and introduced them to their real self. The version buried beneath layers of comfort, fear, and illusion. So let me ask you now, are you resisting struggle? Do you wake up hoping nothing goes wrong? Or do you invite the challenge because you know it's the path to something greater? Are you asking life for less? Or are you becoming more? The man who thanks the struggle is untouchable. He cannot be broken because he doesn't fear pressure. He doesn't crumble when the day is hard. He doesn't wait for perfect conditions to show up powerfully. His strength doesn't come from everything going his way. It comes from a mindset that says, even when it's hard, I get better. And this isn't theory, it's practice. It's discipline. It begins in those first few minutes of the morning, when you decide what kind of man you'll be. Will you whine when discomfort arrives? Will you delay your growth waiting for the perfect moment? Or will you thank the very thing most people run from? Wake up with fire in your eyes. Look at the day ahead, not with fear, but with focus. Say aloud, whatever pain comes, whatever resistance I meet, whatever curveball life throws, I thank it. Because growth doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from facing it. This declaration rewires your nervous system. It calms the panic. It erases the shock. Suddenly, obstacles aren't interruptions, but invitations. To dig deeper, to rise, to adapt, to respond with strength that even surprises you. And the best part? The more you thank the struggle, the more momentum you build. Confidence doesn't come from victories alone. It comes from knowing you can endure. That no matter what the day brings, you show up ready. That kind of man becomes unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because he gets stronger. So tomorrow morning, before you check your schedule and before the noise creeps in, take one breath. Just one. Then say it. Thank you for the struggle that's coming. Say, I don't need ease. I need truth. I need challenge. I need what will make me a giant. Life won't hand you greatness. It tests you for it. Only the man who welcomes the test, who thanks it, will rise to meet it. Let others curse the challenge. Let them run or fold. You will rise with gratitude on your lips and steel in your spine. Life only strengthens the man who stops running from it. Remind yourself, this is temporary, but your legacy is not. Days will feel like mountains. Hours will stretch. Pressure will weigh heavy. And the silence between results may scream louder than any failure. There will be mornings when nothing seems to work. When the world doesn't applaud. When no one sees the effort. When you wake exhausted and wonder if it mattered. Hold on like a sword in the dark. Fatigue will fade. Rejection will sting, then dissolve. The quiet seasons where you feel you're the only one grinding will pass. What remains is what you built through those seasons. What lasts is who you became when no one watched, and what you chose when choosing nothing would have been easier. That's why each morning, before the world pulls at you, before distractions dilute your focus, you must speak this truth to your own soul. I am not grinding for a moment. I am grinding for a name. This isn't about fleeting motivation. It's about legacy, about what will echo long after your breath is gone, about the imprint you leave on others. It's for the people who watched, who listened, who learned from the way you moved when life was not kind. You don't endure simply to survive. Survival is instinct. Any creature can survive. But you were built to create, to conquer, to leave something behind. Not just wealth, success, or trophies, but truth, character, and strength. A pattern of courage that others can follow. A story your grandchildren can tell, not just with pride, but with instruction. This is how our family learned to fight. This is how our name was built. Each day you rise, you cast a vote for the man you are becoming. For the man your future family will either admire or forget. Every day you write lines in a book someone else may one day read. And that is why you cannot give up. Not because the day is easy, but because the future you're building demands that you honor it. Even when you're tired, even when you're afraid, even when it feels like no one sees you. Because the real battle is never between you and the world. It is between you and the part of yourself that wants to settle, to delay, to compromise. The part that whispers, this is too much, skip it today, nobody will notice. That voice is always there, but so is another, a quieter one. The voice of legacy. The voice that whispers, push. Not for applause, not for reward, but because someone you'll never meet is depending on the strength you build today. Think about that for a moment. Your discipline now may feed a future you'll never live to see. A child not yet born may stand taller because you chose to rise when it was hard. A generation may walk farther because you refused to quit halfway. That is legacy. That is real success. And it never appears in a single moment. It's built over decades, brick by brick, in mornings just like this one. So how do you keep going when today feels like it's working against you? You visualize legacy. You picture the man you'd want your son to admire. Not the man who had it easy, but the man who never gave in. You imagine your grandchildren hearing your story, not just your accomplishments, but your consistency, your integrity, the way you kept showing up. That image must become your fuel. Because when motivation fails, and it will, only meaning remains. And meaning is born from vision, from asking, what do I want my life to stand for? It lives in the quiet hearts of those who watched you live, in the children who heard about your sacrifices, in the friends who witnessed you keep your word, even in the enemies who could not deny your discipline. That is the story that matters. That is the name that lasts. Now imagine this. It's 5:30 a.m., still dark. Your eyes sting with fatigue. The room is cold. Your muscles ache. No one is cheering. No cameras are waiting. No reward sits on the other side of your workout. Your writing, your prayer, your effort. Only silence. Only resistance. But you whisper, "This will pass, but my name will remain." And then you act, not because it feels good, but because you remember why you began. You keep going, not for a rush of dopamine, not for recognition, but because you've chosen to build something eternal, not of comfort, but of conviction. So let me ask you now, are you living for the moment or for the mark you leave? Are your days consumed by short-term pleasure, validation, and comfort? Or are you stacking bricks that will one day build a legacy, one worthy of pride, one that outlives you, one that others can build upon? Every action today either adds to your legend or subtracts from it. Every skipped rep, every ignored goal, every silent compromise writes a line in your story. But so does every step taken in silence, every hour of uncelebrated discipline, every morning you rise, not because it's easy, but because your future is watching. So tomorrow morning, and the next, and the one after, don't just wake up. Rise and remind yourself, today is fleeting, but my legacy is forever. That is why I endure. That is why I move. That is why I will not quit. Because men who live only for the moment vanish with it. But men who live for legacy become immortal. Make a silent promise to yourself and keep it. Every morning, before the world hears your voice, before anyone texts, calls, or asks for you, you must hear your own vow. Not a public declaration, not a motivational speech, not a loud chant to impress your reflection, but a quiet promise, spoken in the silence of your mind, made only for yourself. This is not performance. This is principle. It's the invisible thread that ties today to your standard. And if you honor that thread daily, it becomes unbreakable character. Most men never speak to themselves this way. They wake up and rush into the world without direction, pulled by demand, urgency, and noise. They live reactive lives, bouncing between tasks and expectations, never realizing the root of their scattered existence is the absence of self-integrity. It isn't failure that breaks a man, and it isn't loss. It's betrayal. Doubt doesn't grow in the presence of obstacles. It grows in the presence of broken promises. You say you'll wake up early, but you hit snooze. You say you'll do the hard thing, but you delay it for comfort. You say you'll stay calm, but irritation takes over. These aren't just small slips. They are silent fractures in the foundation of trust between you and yourself. The more often they occur, the less you believe your own word. That's what doubt really is. The mind whispering, "I've heard you make this promise before, and you never kept it." That is why the first voice you hear each day should be your own. Not the news, not the opinions of others. Your own. And not the voice of weakness, not the excuse-making version of you, but the voice of the man you are building. The man who leads, who honors the hard path, who follows through. Speak to yourself before the day speaks to you. Make a vow. Maybe it's small. Today I will finish what I start. Or maybe it's bold. Today I will not shrink. I will confront what I fear. The words themselves don't matter as much as the meaning behind them. What matters is that you feel them, that you act as if your entire identity depends on this private contract. Because in many ways, it does. This is not about perfection. You're not a machine. You will stumble, you will fall short. That's part of the process. But it's not about getting everything right. It's about creating a pattern of discipline, a pattern of follow-through, a pattern of self-honor. And over time, that pattern becomes the very structure of your confidence. Confidence isn't given or inherited. It's earned, brick by brick, through repeated evidence that you are the kind of man who does what he says. Not just to others, but to himself. Each time you keep that promise, even in discomfort, you are wiring your brain to believe. When I speak, I act. When I say, I deliver. When I commit, I finish. Now imagine two men. They wake at the same hour, facing the same responsibilities. But one begins his day in silence, speaking a vow into his spirit. Today I will lead with strength. I will not excuse. I will not retreat. I will not break. He then moves into the world carrying that vow like armor. His actions are not scattered, they are guided. His choices are not impulsive, they are anchored. The other man rushes into the day, reacting, complaining, drowning in noise. With no anchor, he drifts. And that drift doesn't just shape his day. It becomes his week, his month, his life. He wonders why nothing sticks, why nothing changes. But the answer isn't in his luck, it's in his lack of inner agreement. Life isn't built on outer goals alone, it's built on inner contracts. And every morning, you are given a blank page. You either fill it with default behaviors or with deliberate vows. The man who chooses to lead himself first, before leading anyone else, becomes unshakable. It's easy to speak boldly to others, but rare to speak quietly and powerfully to yourself. That is where strength hides. That is where you build the kind of identity that doesn't need applause to stay committed. You're not performing. You're proving to yourself that you are worthy of your own belief. Don't underestimate the power of that inner voice. One strong sentence, repeated every morning, becomes a spine, a compass, a line in the sand between the man you were and the man you are choosing to become. So ask yourself, have you promised yourself anything today? Not to your boss, not to your family, not to the world, but to yourself. Have you made that quiet commitment? The one that doesn't show up in public, but shows up in your posture? Because if you haven't made the promise, you can't keep it. And if you never keep it, you never build. You don't need 100 goals. You need one vow, honored consistently. Today I will not make excuses. Today I will act despite how I feel. Today I will be the man I said I'd be. That is where power begins. That is how empires of discipline are born. In the silence of the morning, when a man speaks, listens, and acts. Make the promise, keep the promise, and repeat it tomorrow and the next day until the world no longer has to ask who you are. Because your life answers for you. Until your presence carries weight, not through volume, but through alignment. Because you've become someone even you can trust. And that, my friend, is how you build the kind of man you're proud to follow. Speak one bold truth aloud. Every morning, most men whisper their dreams. They tuck them into the corners of their minds, shielding them from light, from judgment, from risk. They speak in soft tones about the future, as if apologizing for wanting more. Their ambitions remain vague, half-spoken, hidden behind a curtain of hesitation. Why? Because once a dream is spoken, it becomes real. And what is real carries risk. What is real demands action, exposure, and commitment. For many, that reality feels too heavy to hold. But you are not here to play it safe. You are not here to tiptoe through life, hoping to avoid embarrassment or failure. You are here to build, to shape reality with your voice. Because your voice is not just noise. It is the first hammer strike against the raw stone of potential. And every morning, before the world tries to mold you with its chaos, you must mold yourself with your own words. The spoken word is your first act of creation. It takes what is invisible, what only you can see or feel, and brings it into the realm of the seen, the heard, the known. Thought is the seed, yes, but speech is the root. And until you speak, your vision remains trapped in silence, powerless, untouched. That is why you must speak, not softly, not as if hoping the world won't hear, but with clarity and conviction. Declare one bold truth aloud. Not a weak affirmation, not a sugar-coated phrase repeated without heart, but a truth, a line of strength. Draw it in the dirt if you must, but let it be clear. This is who I am. This is what I'm building. This is the man I've chosen to become. Say it with force, with clarity, with conviction. Say it like law, because that's what it is. The law of your intention, the decree of your spirit, the moment when thought becomes command. And when your ears hear your own voice declare something real, weighty, and unchangeable, belief takes root. Resolve becomes breath. Why do you think kings had heralds? Why did generals speak before a charge? Because words are not decoration, they are ignition. The ancients knew this. Builders spoke to their stones, farmers to their fields, warriors to their swords. Not because of magic, but for alignment. When your inner world unites with your outer voice, momentum begins. That is why every morning you must find a private place. Not to perform, not to impress, but to build. To build yourself. Go where no one can distract or distort. Stand tall, face forward, plant your feet like a man who commands his ground. Then speak. Speak as if you are issuing orders to your own destiny, because that is exactly what you're doing. Maybe it's one line, one sentence, one truth that cuts through the fog. I am a man of action. I do not quit. This year I dominate. I will build something no one can take from me. Whatever it is, let it stand firm. Say it as if it is final. No hesitation, no conditions, no I hope. Only this is what is. Picture the farmer speaking to his land. This season, you will feed my family. His words don't till the soil, but they prepare the man. A general addresses his soldiers. Today we fight for honor. His words don't stop the bullets, but they ignite the heart. A craftsman touches the stone and declares, from this, I will carve legacy. The chisel hasn't struck yet, but the intention already has. And you must speak to your soul before the battle of the day begins. This world is a battleground, not in some dramatic sense, but in the quiet resistance it throws at every spark of greatness. The moment you step outside, the fight begins. Distraction, doubt, delay, temptation. They're all coming for you. But your words, your morning declaration, are your armor. They are your war cry. And a man with a war cry cannot be easily swayed. So I ask you, have you declared your intention today? Have you claimed your ground? Or did you wake up shuffling through routines like a man asleep in his own life? Vision alone is never enough. Vision without declaration is just a dream, and dreams rot in silence. Declarations demand action. They shape how you walk, how you think, how you move. They transform mornings from grogginess into mobilization. And no one else needs to hear them. This isn't for your friends or your family. It's for the man staring back at you when the lights are off and the crowd is gone. It's for you, and for the world you're building with your own hands. Say it aloud. Let your voice echo in your chest. Let it strike the walls like a hammer, calling your purpose to attention. Let your words become the bricks you lay at your own feet, day after day, until you stand on something unshakable. Because that's exactly what's happening, whether you realize it or not. Every morning, your words are building your world. You are either speaking strength or surrender, certainty or hesitation, clarity or confusion. And whichever you choose will lead your day. So speak with strength. Speak with the tone of a man who knows the ground beneath him is his. Speak with the certainty of a man who has burned every bridge behind him and left himself no option but to conquer forward. Speak with the edge of a man who knows he has work to do and will not be denied. Your words are not just breath, they are blueprints. The man who speaks with intention each morning doesn't drift, he builds. Day by day, brick by brick, sentence by sentence, until the dream is no longer hidden, until the world echoes back what he first had the courage to say aloud. Take one silent walk with purpose. You must return to this forgotten power before the world begins pulling at your attention, before obligation starts shouting your name. Reclaim the space once sacred to every great man who lived with purpose, the silent walk. Not for fitness, not for performance, but for presence. Each morning, step outside alone. No conversations, no distractions, just you and your steps. Your body is not merely a vehicle, it is a voice. Your feet do more than carry you, they reveal you. The rhythm of your stride mirrors the rhythm of your soul. Walk slowly, and your thoughts find space to unfold. Walk quickly, and you feel the fire stirring within. Either way, the movement is not random, it is sacred. It is a dialogue with yourself. We've forgotten how to walk like this. We rush, we jog with music in our ears and podcasts in our heads. We are always consuming, rarely connecting. Yet deeper wisdom waits in the silence, revealed only when everything else fades away. As you walk, don't try to solve everything. Don't wrestle with your problems like they owe you answers. Let them rise, let them breathe, let them drift like clouds across your inner sky. Insight can't be forced, it arrives, often when the body is in gentle motion. Walking stirs the mind without overwhelming it. It awakens you without drowning you. Why does this matter? Because the world worships intensity, more, faster, louder. Yet some of the greatest transformations don't come through noise, but through quiet, steady, deliberate motion. Motion is medicine for the mind. It whispers, you are not stuck, you are still capable of moving. And that truth alone can begin to unravel despair. The mind often confuses stillness with stagnation. It convinces you you're trapped, when in reality, you just haven't moved. But once you start walking, even if nothing is solved, even if nothing changes right away, something inside shifts. Subtle, ancient, powerful. It says, we're still here, we're still capable, let's begin again. That's why the body must move. Because when the body moves, the spirit follows. And when the spirit follows, clarity finds you. Not all at once, not with fanfare, but with quiet conviction. Picture this. It's early, the world is still asleep, and you step outside while the sky hangs heavy with blue-gray morning air. Maybe you walk through a field, down a quiet road, or along a stone path that remembers the footsteps of your ancestors. The birds begin to stir, the wind is light, and no one is watching. There is no audience, no applause, no approval to chase. Yet something shifts, your shoulders rise, your breath deepens, your back straightens. Not from effort, but from remembrance. You recall who you are, who you were, and who you are becoming. You have not returned to a place on a map, but to yourself. That return, repeated daily, becomes the ritual that anchors you when life starts to pull. You walk not to arrive anywhere, but to arrive back into your own being. It may sound simple, maybe even too soft for a world of steel, but the strongest men in history understood this truth. The generals, the poets, the prophets, the kings, they walked when they needed answers, when they needed strength, when they needed the weight of the world to fall away long enough to hear the whisper of direction. When was the last time you walked just to listen, not to solve, not to prepare, but simply to hear your own soul without interruption? When was the last time you felt the rhythm of your breath, the tension in your shoulders, the pace of your heart? When did you last give your mind that gift of space, of solitude, of sacred distance from the noise? That is not weakness, that is discipline. You don't walk to escape, you walk to return, to remember what matters, to realign yourself before the world pulls you in 1,000 directions. And if you make this a practice, not a once-a-week ritual, but a daily vow, your days will no longer own you. You will move through life not with panic, but with presence. Not scattered, but centered. You'll begin to hear yourself again. And when you can hear yourself, you can lead yourself. That's the great secret most men miss. They try to lead others without ever leading themselves first. They aim to build empires without first returning to the foundation of their own being. But a man who walks each morning in silence, who learns to stand still while moving forward, is not easily shaken. He has already met himself before the world tries to define him. So tomorrow morning, before the sun fully rises, lace your shoes, leave the noise, step into the cool air, and walk, not to get somewhere, but to get back. Walk with no timeline, no outcome, just presence, pace, and peace. Let your thoughts rise, break apart, and rebuild. When you return, you will not be louder, but stronger. Not faster, but more certain. Because the man who walks in silence each morning builds a strength the world cannot see, but feels every time he enters a room. So walk, and in that quiet movement, reclaim the fire that rushing will never give you. You are not walking away, you are walking toward your power. Each morning, review the price you're willing to pay. Every dream, every ambition, every future worth chasing demands payment. And not just once, not only at the beginning, but every single day. That is the part most men forget. They set goals, they speak of visions of greatness, but as the days pass, as the fire cools and the real work begins, they forget the cost. They want the crown but shrink from the climb. They crave freedom but refuse to pay for it in full. Desire is common. Millions of men want, but very few are willing to give. The world is full of men who dream of becoming, but not enough who commit to becoming exhausted for it. That's why real success, not popularity, not noise, not hollow applause, but deep, unshakable success, rarely visits those who dabble. It comes to the man who pays the price. Success doesn't bargain. It doesn't care how you feel. It won't give you discounts for being busy or ease its demands because you're tired or discouraged. It never bends for excuses. It responds to one thing only: sacrifice. And if you're not sacrificing, you're not building. If you're not paying, you're not progressing. So before the day begins, before the noise and chaos arrive, ask yourself, what am I willing to give today? Time, energy, sleep, comfort, rejection? Are you willing to be misunderstood, judged, mocked, or ignored? Are you willing to do the work when no one claps? To delay gratification while others celebrate early? Because if not, the dream will starve. Not because it was impossible, but because you never gave it the fuel it required. This daily review isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to forge you, to strip away illusions and remind you that the process is the payment, and it must be made up front, not in theory, but in action. Because when you begin your day aware of the cost, you stop resisting the weight. You stop asking, "Why is this so hard?" and start declaring, "This is the weight I chose to carry." The truth is, most men don't fail for lack of intelligence, talent, or opportunity. They fail because they forget what the pursuit demands. They start treating the dream like a hobby, not a vow. And when discomfort comes, as it always does, they lower the price they're willing to pay. But not you. Not if you wake each morning with eyes wide open, sit with yourself, and write it down. Don't overthink. Be brutally honest. What are you currently paying to earn your goal? Are you sacrificing time or squeezing your dream into leftover hours? Are you giving up comfort or retreating at the first sign of resistance? Are you enduring rejection or hiding behind the fear of disapproval? Is it enough? If not, raise the offering, because the man who gives more gets more. Life is not blind. It watches, it waits, and it rewards the man who gives first and complains last. Picture two men sitting in the same room. Both speak of freedom, of purpose, of building a life that matters. Both nod, both agree. But then morning comes. One gives only when it's convenient. He works when it feels good. He sacrifices when it's easy. The other rises early, shows up tired, repeats the same action without applause. He gives, and gives again, without negotiation. 1 year later, the difference is unmistakable. One man has what he spoke of. The other remembers only what he once hoped for. And it's never the dream that failed. It's the price that was never paid. Because feeling ready is a luxury, and waiting for motivation is a myth. The world rewards the man who acts while trembling, who continues when no one is watching, who bleeds for what he believes in. The man who doesn't wait to feel capable but acts anyway, because he said he would. That's what it means to carry the cost. So let me ask you now, what are you giving that proves you truly want this life? Not what you wish for, not what you say. What are you giving? What price have you placed on your dream? Is it just a token, a small gesture to ease the guilt? Or is it a real offering, something that hurts to give, yet builds you as you give it? Because anything worth having, freedom, mastery, impact, demands something sacred. Time you'll never get back. Comfort you've grown attached to. Approval you once needed. Energy you'd rather spend elsewhere. That's the real receipt. You can either pay it now or live with the regret of withheld potential. So tomorrow morning, and every morning after, don't just check your schedule. Check the cost. Look your dream in the eye and ask, am I giving enough? And if the answer unsettles you, double down. Give more. Wake earlier. Stay longer. Risk more. Stretch farther. Because your future doesn't care how noble your intentions were. It only measures what you gave. Most men never count the cost, and so they spend their lives frustrated, wondering why the door never opens. But the door was never locked. It was guarded by the price of entry. Start each morning by counting the cost. Let it sting. Let it wake you up. Let it remind you that nothing will be handed to you, but everything can be earned if you're willing to give enough. Greatness always leaves a receipt. Check yours. And if it's not enough, pay again. Then recall one failure, without shame. You cannot grow if you're too afraid to look back. But you can't live back there either. Growth doesn't come from denial. It's found in the tension between memory and movement. The future demands your focus, yes, but the past demands your honesty. That is the paradox of progress. You must remember without remaining. Revisit without reliving. The only way to move forward with wisdom is to look back at times, not with shame, but with clarity. Most men won't do this. They run from their failures like fugitives, hoping memories won't catch them. They bury mistakes under distractions. They cover regret with pride. They talk about lessons learned, yet refuse to open the pages of their own painful history. But time never erases what you refuse to face. The mistake you won't review is the mistake you'll repeat. That's the truth. Buried lessons always return as repeated failures. And if you want to walk a path that doesn't circle back into old patterns, you must become the man who can stare into the rearview mirror, not to punish himself, but to sharpen himself. You must dig up the moments you fell short. Re-enter the battlefield of your past, not with guilt, but with the eyes of a general studying the terrain. You must say, "This taught me more than success ever could." But when should you do this work? In the morning, because morning is when your mind is clear, before the world fogs it with noise. It's when you set the tone, the temperature, the terms of the day. It's in that moment you decide what to remember, what to believe, and how to act. And if you face your failures early, you strip them of the power to chase you all day. You meet them on your terms. You remove the shame and replace it with strategy. You say, "I know you. I've seen you. You no longer control me." Failure will either haunt you or fuel you. And that choice begins before breakfast. So how do you do it? You sit in stillness. You reach back into your memory, not to dwell, but to dissect. You don't relive the failure. You study it. You become the investigator of your own missteps. Find one moment, maybe last week, maybe 10 years ago, the words you didn't say, the action you avoided, the standard you lowered, the compromise that cost more than you expected. Don't hide from it. Don't excuse it. Look at it clearly and ask, what did I do? What did I avoid? What did I learn? These 3 questions form the bridge between regret and redemption. They pull wisdom from the wound. They make you stronger without making you bitter. And here's the key. You must speak. Say it aloud, even if only in a whisper. I am not that man anymore. I am wiser now. Your body needs to hear it. Your ears must feel the certainty in your voice. Words spoken in truth rewire the brain faster than silent thoughts. You're not claiming perfection or pretending it never happened. You're declaring that you've evolved. You choose to remember not the sting, but the lesson. Now picture this. 2 men starting the same morning. Both men carry failure, the same weight, the same pain. One refuses to face it. He rushes through his day, drowning in noise, hoping silence won't catch him. But the failure lingers in his subconscious. It shapes his choices, feeds his hesitation, and makes him repeat what he once swore he'd never do. The other man begins his day differently. He sits still, breathes deeply, looks failure in the eye, names it, breaks it down, studies the pattern, and extracts the truth. Then he declares, "I have learned, I have grown, I am not that man." He walks forward not lighter in memory, but heavier in wisdom. He doesn't repeat the past. He reprograms the future. Same failure, yet 2 men, 2 outcomes. So let me ask you, are you brave enough to remember without regret? Can you hold your mistakes without turning away? Can you stare at your shortcomings without making them your identity? Because the man who can do this, who can carry the memory of failure and learn from it, is unbreakable. He has seen himself at his worst, and instead of burying it, he built from it. He forged strength from the fire. He didn't run from pain, he ran with it. Every morning you face the choice. Pretend or review, avoid or confront, walk forward unaware or walk forward armed. You don't need to live in the past, but you do need to learn from it. A man without memory is a man without a map, and no one reaches greatness by forgetting the road behind him. Begin each day with one misstep, one lesson, one correction, not to feel small, but to rise taller. Not to sink into guilt, but to grow. And as you practice this, you'll notice something powerful. The more you learn from your past, the less it controls you. The more you face your failures, the less they follow you. The more you confront them, the more they serve you. This isn't about shame, it's about ownership. Ownership of your journey, your growth, and the man you are still becoming. So remember your failures, speak to them, learn from them, and then leave them behind, not as burdens, but as proof of your transformation. A man brave enough to face his past without regret is a man the future cannot intimidate. Begin the morning in stillness before the world speaks. When you open your eyes, before the noise of the day floods your mind, there's a brief moment of silence, so subtle most people miss it. Hidden in that silence is power. The power to decide who you will become today. That moment is yours, unclaimed, untouched by the demands of the world. Most men rush past it. They roll over, and before they've taken a breath, their minds are hijacked. News feeds, notifications, missed calls, these are the first voices they hear. They hand over their attention before they've even owned it. But you must be different. That first quiet moment before the world rushes in is the gateway to a new mind. Why is it so powerful? Because in that delicate space between sleep and waking, the brain is unguarded. 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 16 seconds, by habits or hardened by thoughts. It is open, soft, programmable. like wet cement. It will take the imprint of whatever you press into it. The world will try to press in fear, distraction, and urgency. But if you act with intention, you can press in clarity, purpose, and peace. And the form your mind takes in that moment will echo for the rest of your day. 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 37 seconds. You must understand the mind is not static. It is a living, shaping force, constantly being molded by what you allow. If you begin your day in chaos, don't be surprised when your mind echoes with confusion. If you begin it in fear, don't be surprised when your confidence falters by noon. 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 58 seconds. But if you begin it in stillness, in deliberate self-command, you take the reins. You choose the mold, you choose the pattern. So here's what you must do the moment you wake up. Before your feet hit the floor, before you open your inbox, before anyone else's thoughts reach your ears, be still, do nothing external, lie in bed or sit upright, and just breathe. 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 17 seconds. That's it. Feel your breath moving in and out. Become aware, not of the world, but of you. This is not passivity, it is preparation. It is a warrior standing calm before the battlefield. Now ask yourself, what do I want my mind to believe today? That question is your sword, your armor. Say your answer out loud, not in a whisper, but in a voice of quiet conviction. 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 41 seconds. I am focused. I am strong. I am directed. These are not affirmations to impress others. These are instructions to your subconscious. Commands, orders. Because if you don't program your mind, someone else will. And they won't do it with your best interest in mind. The world is a master hypnotist. Every headline is crafted to spark fear. Every ad is designed to make you feel incomplete. If you let the world shape your thoughts first, you'll never truly live your own life. That's why you must speak to yourself before the noise. You must become the hypnotist. You must decide what your mind will believe, and then build from there. Now picture two men. One wakes up, and instantly his stomach tightens. His thoughts scatter like leaves in a storm. His energy is pulled in 5 directions before he even stands. He already feels behind, and he knows it. The other man wakes and doesn't move right away. He just breathes. Then he says out loud, "Today I lead." His mind locks onto that phrase. His breath slows, his thoughts align. He isn't reacting, he's designing. He rises calm, eyes clear, owning his mind instead of handing it to the world. Same morning, same hour, yet 2 completely different lives. You might think it's just a small habit, but it isn't. It's a pattern interrupt, a break in the automation that has ruled your mornings for years. The brain is molded by repetition. It doesn't evolve by accident, but by deliberate design. And the man who rewires his mornings rewires his destiny. Because every day starts with a single moment. Every moment shapes a thought. Repeated thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs turn into action. And action? That's your life. You don't need to add more to your mornings. You need to strip away the noise. Reclaim your mind before the world gets its hands on it. Just 5 minutes of stillness, 1 deep breath. One spoken command is not a routine, it's warfare. It's how you fight back against a culture designed to distract, dilute, and dominate your thinking. The truth is simple. The way you start your day is the way your day begins to shape you. If you wake up and surrender, your mind learns to bend. But if you wake up and lead, your mind learns to obey you. This isn't about motivation. Motivation fades. This is about installation. You are programming a new operating system, 1 thought, 1 breath, 1 morning at a time. So let me ask you directly, who is the first voice your mind hears each day? Is it yours or someone else's? Who sets the tone for your emotions, your discipline, or the world's distractions? You already know the answer, but now you must change it. Tomorrow morning, don't rush, don't reach, don't react. Just breathe. Sit still, speak your command, then step forward. Not as a man pulled by the world, but as one who leads it. You don't need the perfect morning routine. You just need the right one. The one that tells your mind, I am in charge. That silence you hear when you wake isn't emptiness, it's opportunity. From now on, meet it like a king enters his throne room, not waiting for permission, but declaring intent. Before the world speaks, you speak. Before the day unfolds, you unfold your mind. And once this becomes your habit, your life won't just change, it will transform. Quietly, powerfully, permanently. Because the man who commands his morning commands his future. Each day, write down 1 powerful thought to reshape your reality. Every morning is a blank canvas, yet most men never learn to paint. Instead of creating something new, they replay the same chaos. Yesterday's doubts, yesterday's frustrations, looping like a broken record. They wake and step back into yesterday's storm. Their mind may be awake, but it isn't renewed, it's recycled. Year after year, they live the same day, the same mindset, the same fate. But you are not here to replay. You are here to reprogram. You are here to rewire. And rewiring doesn't begin with success, applause, or achievement. It begins with a single sentence, a conscious thought written in the stillness of morning. Writing is not just thinking, it is power. When you write, you declare to your subconscious, your body, your future, this is who I am becoming. The brain survives on patterns, routine, and recognition. Which means if you keep feeding it the same thoughts, it will keep producing the same results. Think fear, and you'll live in fear. Think doubt, and you'll walk in hesitation. Nothing changes until the blueprint changes. But when you write, you disrupt the cycle. You break the echo. You challenge the autopilot. Not typing, not silent thoughts, writing. Because when the hand moves, the eyes focus, and the mind engages, the internal begins to manifest in the external. The invisible becomes visible. That's where the rewiring begins. Don't complicate it. This isn't about writing paragraphs, journals, or essays. It isn't for anyone else to read. It's for you. One thought, one sentence, one clear command that reflects the person you're building, not the one you're escaping. Say it straight. I am courageous. I act without fear. I command my time. These aren't weak affirmations. They're declarations of identity, blueprints. You're not wishing, you're instructing. And here's the truth most people never learn. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between truth and repetition. If you tell yourself daily, I'm not good enough, your mind will shape your life around that belief, and you'll find proof everywhere. But if you declare, I am worthy every single day, even when you don't feel it, your brain will begin searching for ways to make it real. That's not wishful thinking. It's biology. It's neurology. The brain builds pathways around what's repeated, not what's real, but what's reinforced. This is why you must write it. Not once a week, but every morning. The same way water drop by drop carves stone, one sentence repeated can carve a new reality in your mind. At first, it may feel unnatural, like a foreign language. That's only because your brain is still speaking the old one. Stay with it. Keep writing. Let the new language take root. Picture a woman who writes, I am worthy every morning for 30 days. At first, her hand trembles, and the words feel false. But she writes anyway. Around day 10, she speaks it louder. By day 15, there's no hesitation. By day 20, her choices begin to align with worthiness. She begins to set boundaries. She walks taller, speaks with clarity, and her life starts to shift. Not because the world changed, but because she did. The outer follows the inner, and the inner began with a single sentence. You might wonder, can one sentence really change me? The truth is, every identity starts with a story, and every story begins with words. The man who becomes strong doesn't wait until he feels strong. He tells himself he is, again and again, until his posture changes, his voice deepens, and his actions align. Identity isn't born, it's built, and it's built through repetition. But repetition needs a ritual. Here's yours. Every morning, pick up a pen, not a keyboard, a pen, and write one powerful thought. It can be the same sentence or a new one. Whatever you need to believe to become who you're meant to be. Don't wait for belief to show up. Belief is not the beginning. It's the reward of consistency. You don't write because you already believe. You write because you must, because you refuse to believe anything less. This isn't ego or fantasy. This is alignment. Aligning your inner world with your outer potential. Each sentence is a brick. And with enough bricks, you build a fortress, a mind no longer shaken by noise, fear, or doubt. The beauty of this habit lies in its simplicity. No excuses, no tools required. Just you, a pen, and a sentence. That's all it takes to begin the process of inner transformation. You don't need motivation, permission, or even a plan. You only need to show up. Every morning, before the world speaks, you speak. Before doubts arrive, you arrive. With a sentence so powerful it rewires the path your mind will follow all day. The man who writes strength begins to think strong. The woman who writes peace begins to walk in peace. The person who writes, I am in control, starts acting in control. You don't need to prove it, you need to practice it. Belief is a muscle, and writing is the weight. So tomorrow morning, wake up and take command. Pick up the pen, choose your sentence, and train your mind to obey. Not someday, not when you feel ready now. Because every morning isn't just a new day, it's a new mind waiting to be written. One sentence, one day, one transformation at a time. That's how you rewire your brain. That's how you build a life worthy of the voice you choose to believe. Rewiring your brain doesn't demand dramatic change, only consistent intention. Do this each morning, and you'll begin shaping a mind built for clarity, strength, and purpose. The world won't get easier, but you'll grow sharper, more focused, more resilient. Start tomorrow. Start with one act that puts you back in control. Because the life you desire begins with the mind you build, and that mind begins every morning. Own that moment, and you'll own everything that follows. Wishing you health, happiness, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.